Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport has traditionally been known as a busy Midwestern hub, not a cultural battleground. That changed last November when 6 Muslim imams were kicked off a U.S. Airways flight there. Passengers complained that imams were praying loudly and moving about the plane speaking Arabic. The incident sparked a media firestorm, and many local Muslims blame the airport, not the imams. It also highlighted a cultural divide in the Twin Cities. Much of the debate surrounding Muslims in Minneapolis is centered here at the Minneapolis airport. Not only did the infamous flying imams incident take place here, but there's also been an ongoing controversy involving Somali Muslim cabbies refusing to carry passengers who have alcohol in their possession.
The Muslim American Society Minnesota chapter issued a fatwa regarding the transportation of alcohol by cabbies at the airport, telling them that essentially they would burn in hell, that they would be cooperating in sin, and they were forbidden to do this.
The Chicago Tribune has described the Muslim American Society, or MAS, as the American arm of the Muslim Brotherhood, a worldwide Islamist movement. Somali activist Omar Jamal says groups like this have attempted to radicalize the city's growing Somali Muslim population.
The majority of Somali people really thought that the idea was crazy to refuse service to a passenger carrying alcohol. And this was only cooked up by a very small group.
The airport has threatened to suspend any cabbies who turn down passengers for religious reasons, but that hasn't stopped the radical movement from expanding its influence. Minneapolis Community and Technical College recently installed ritual foot washing basins in its bathrooms. Muslim students will be able to wash their feet before they pray. Kirsten says the school hasn't always been so eager to accommodate students' religious beliefs.
There is a very strong disfavor on the part of the administration when it comes to Christianity. Christmas decorations, any music that has a remote connection with Christmas during the Christmas holiday season. Whereas the administration there seems to be bending over backwards to offer welcome and accommodation to Muslim students.
School officials declined CBN News' request for an interview. The school has been consulting with the Muslim Students Association's Accommodations Task Force on how to better serve its Muslim students. The MSA was founded by the Saudi government. Kirsten says the group wants more than just foot baths.
They want to see separate housing for Muslim students on campus. They want to see separate food, halal or ritually pure food. They want separate hours for Muslim women in gyms and swimming pools. They want imams or religious counselors paid with public funds, and they want holiday observances of Eid and Eid, the end of Ramadan and other Muslim holidays on public school campuses here.
We used to think like racism and immigrants issue are other blacks or Latinos issues. Now we found out really we're not really different. We are the new blacks in this country now.
Ahmed Tarwat hosts Belladon, a cable program in the Twin Cities focusing on Arab American issues.
We are a country of customer service. We accommodate the big, the divorce, the gay, the tall. We accommodate a lot of people,
including Muslim cashiers at a Minneapolis Target store who refuse to check pork products. Pigs are considered unclean in Islam, so the cashiers were reassigned to another department. Likewise, 70 Somali Muslims recently walked off their jobs at an Omaha meatpacking plant because they weren't given enough time to pray. They were allowed to return to work. Tarwat says these are labor management issues that should be resolved by the companies. But Kirsten fears America could be heading down the same path as Europe and Canada, where a growing number of Muslims are demanding to govern themselves by Islamic sharia law. She says an official from the Muslim American Society told her the following.
All you Americans should be learning Islamic law because it's going to be important. There are two systems here that conflict and they'll have to live in harmony.
Tarwat says the choice is simple.
We have 8 million Muslims. What do you want to do with them? You want to alienate them and brush generalization of the suspects and alienate them the way we dealt with blacks, the way we dealt with other minority, or we want to accommodate them and not fall in the problem that the European did?
Muslim leaders here say that Minneapolis should serve as a model for other U.S. cities in its willingness to accommodate its Muslim minority. But critics say there's a fine line between accommodation and subjugation. It's an issue other U.S. cities may soon have to deal with as their Muslim populations grow in numbers and influence. In Minneapolis, Eric Stackelbeck, CBN News. When customers gave store clerk Brian Morgenstern a video showing men firing weapons and chanting Allah is great, he decided to contact authorities. His tip helped break up a domestic terror cell planning to murder U.S. soldiers at New Jersey's Fort Dix.
I think that we need more people to do this. You never know these days, and like the U.S. attorneys have been saying, that it's no longer just for law enforcement to act upon this stuff.
Morgenstern is what's known as a John Doe, an American citizen who provides authorities with information about suspicious behavior.
We as Americans are the first line of defense for the country. Our founding fathers visualized that when they said that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance.
New Mexico Congressman Steve Pierce is sponsoring legislation that would protect John Does from lawsuits or prosecution. His bill was inspired by a controversial incident on a U.S. Airways flight last year. 6 Muslim imams were removed from that flight after passengers complained they were praying loudly and moving about the plane speaking Arabic. Now the imams are suing the airline and those passengers.
This isn't about money. This isn't about getting any payoff at the end. It's about protecting civil rights and defending the good names of the imams.
But Pierce says that if successful, the lawsuit will have a chilling effect on national security.
Our bill simply says you cannot sue people for reporting suspicious behavior. That's the foundation, that's the basis of our security in this country.
Dr. Zuhdi Jasser has offered to raise money for the John Doe's legal fees. Jasser, a practicing Muslim, is an outspoken critic of radical Islam.
Everybody that's thinking about reporting a suspicious activity is now going to say, wait a minute, if I'm wrong about this, I might have to hire an attorney, I might then be liable. I'm not even, all of a sudden they're going to be doubting it, and they're going to feel like it's better to just be quiet.
Republicans are lobbying House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Majority Leader Steny Hoyer to support Pierce's bill. The measure is expected to pass in the House. In the meantime, similar legislation to protect John Does has also been introduced in the Senate. Eric Stackelbeck, CBN News, Capitol Hill.